Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste everyone. We begin from page 75. Maya, the role reverser, right? Is that correct, Claudio? Dean?
Let's see, because I don't have my book. Maya, the role reverser. Okay, yes.
Role reverser. How can this identity? We're talking about the difficult to establish my identity, my identity as consciousness with dense inert objects, because we don't see consciousness reflected in the inert world of object. So we are trying to determine that the scriptures are right when they say that the nature reality is non-duality. Yeah? So how I'm going to the experiencer, the knower, how can I establish my identity with the physical material objects as consciousness? So, and then we know the trick. Yeah? We know that consciousness is one aspect of Brahman. The other aspect of Brahman is existence. Yeah? And I know that I exist as much as the the physical material world of objects, the stones and the earth and so on, the dirt. So how can this identity between I myself, Jivatma, a conscious being, with the physical material world can be understood? It can be understood by appreciating the fact that the existence of the physical material object belongs to consciousness. So the existence of everything, of the entire universe, which includes the Jagata, the world in which there is many of inert objects to it, and then the sentient jivas, all kinds of living creatures. So we will understand this identity by appreciating the fact that all inert objects, they come out of consciousness and they are sustained by consciousness, and therefore they belong to consciousness because they are just superimpositions in consciousness. So everything in the material physical world belongs to consciousness, and that and not to the name, colors, and forms of the objects. Okay, so it's saying here that the existence of the object belongs to Brahman, belongs to existence itself. Can you hear me or not? Why are you guys laughing?
If you can, if you can repeat what you just say, because we were there like listening, we are very interested, and the voice gone. So you just said something, and but I forget what you were saying. So if you can repeat the last thing.
Okay. I was mute for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds, like.
Okay.
30 seconds. And it wasn't that you were mute, you were breaking up, like.
Yeah, you was breaking. Yeah.
Okay, let me. So we'll understand the the identity between the I consciousness and the world, the oneness, by appreciating the fact that everything that exists as Brahman. Everything comes out of Brahman, everything comes out of Satchit, but the name, colors, and forms of the object, they appear to have an independent existence. So we are deceived to believe that existence, they are property of unique objects. And then we say, oh yes, I can tell, the car exists, the building exists, the tree exists, I exist. So it seems as if there are many existence, or the existence is a byproduct or property or result of objects, which is not the fact, as we know. The existence belongs to consciousness and not to the objects themselves. Everything belongs to consciousness, as we know. So consciousness is the only source of existence, let's say. And existence is the only source of consciousness, because consciousness is synonymous of existence. Maya reversed the relationship between consciousness and the object. Let's say it's more clearly understood if we change a few words there. Maya reversed the relationship between consciousness and the world, so that it seems that consciousness, that the existence / consciousness of an object belongs to the object itself, not to consciousness. I mean, there are so many words that we use, consciousness and awareness and existence and so on, that it ends up becoming a little bit confused. So if I would add that, I would say Maya reversed the relationship between awareness. Let's keep awareness and the inert objects. The inert objects. So you have consciousness and you have the inert object. It makes it seem that the objects, they have their own consciousness. So it makes it seem that consciousness comes out of the objects and not that the object comes out of consciousness itself. We know that, we understand it's a common mistake. It's not a big deal, because it is easy to be deceived and take the existence of the inert objects belong to the objects. Likewise, it's easy to take the consciousness, the human consciousness, or the cat consciousness, or the dog consciousness, as if they belong to those objects, those sentient objects. So it seems that the objects, they bring forth their own existence, and they bring forth, when they are jivas, when they are sentient objects, that they bring forth their own consciousness, reflected consciousness, right? This is the reverse, right? Understood? Claudio? For example, we without paying attention, we say that the tree exists. In this case, the word exists is a verb. Yeah, there is a sense of action, of doing something, as if it is a property. It's a verb. So the tree is existing. Isn't it funny? What's the tree doing right now? It is existing. It's a verb. It's doing something, it is existing, as if existence is a verb, describing something that the tree is doing. So the car is existing, so it means that the car has the power to do something such as produce its own existence, which is absurd. So those are inert objects. They do not produce their own existence. But Maya makes it so, and our language, I mean, Maya deceives us that we start talking in terms of that, you know, as if the objects, they have their own source of conscious existence. The sentence should read, the proper way to word it would be, existence is treeing right now. Existence is carrying, yeah, as explained to be, is appearing as a car, is appearing as a tree, huh? And so on. It's catting, it's dogging, existence is dogging right now, no? And so forth. Because existence is the subject, and for every object, not the object of multiple subjects. Every object comes from existence. Every object comes from existence, and existence here is said to be the substance of all objects. I would replace that word because substance is used for matter, is the fabric, is the matter. Huh? I would say every object comes from existence, you know, which is the substratum of all objects. Okay, it is the essential nature of all objects. Essential nature is the core of anything and everything of an object. So every object comes from its substratum, which is existence, consciousness. If you analyze your experience, you will see that material objects, such as thoughts and feelings, for example, appear and disappear in your consciousness, in your conscious existence. Let's keep the existence there. If we analyze our experience, we see that material objects, as well as subtle objects of thoughts and feelings, appear and disappear in our consciousness. This simple fact shows that you, the conscious subject, are present before an object appears and after an object disappears. So this logic is to prove that when an object appears and then consciousness appears. No, you understand that there are some spiritual or philosophies that says that awareness or consciousness it appears together with the objects, because if there is no object, there is no consciousness. I mean, there is a philosophy such as that one. And therefore they believe when I'm in deep sleep, there are no objects and then there is no consciousness. So they don't have let's say, a sophisticated understanding about the nature of reality, you know? So we say that that's not so. And that the object appears before the object, I was conscious. Yeah, and then the object came, I remained conscious, and then the object left, and then I remained conscious, waiting for the next thought object. So that proves that consciousness does not belong to the object, but consciousness is there always, before, during, and after the coming and going of thoughts and objects. So everything comes and go, come and go, and consciousness is that never not present, right? It is also a matter of common sense that objects don't exist for you unless they are known to exist. So this is another twist to this understanding, that it's a matter of common sense that objects don't exist to you unless they are known to exist. So you need to know that they exist so that I know they exist for me. So it's also a fact that you cannot have knowledge without consciousness. So the object is going to exist to me if I know them, if I experience them. And in order to know and experience them, I need to be conscious. Right? So without consciousness, I don't have any chance to know anything. Knowledge is only possible because I am conscious. Yeah? So we're establishing here that the object come and go, and the objects do not exist unless I know that they exist. In order to know, I need to be conscious. So everything is happening in consciousness. And by the way, knowledge and consciousness, they are about the same. Knowledge is the chit aspect of consciousness, of Brahman. So we have Sat, existence, and chit, the knowingness, power, the ability to know, knowledge, knowingness. No? So this is another aspect of our true nature. So what is the connection then between the conscious subject, the jiva, or awareness, or consciousness, howsoever we want to see, and the existence of the inert objects presenting themselves to us? So we have the jivatma, which appears as the intellect, let's say, the body-mind construct. And what is the relationship? What is the connection between this conscious subject and the existence of the inert objects which come and go? And what is this connection? We are trying to establish this relationship, quote unquote. No? So how are we going to establish this identity? We said before that the nature of reality is non-duality, but now we are talking in terms of duality. The conscious subject and the object that appears within the conscious subject. So how are we going to resolve this duality? Because we have established before that the nature of the I, the nature of reality, is non-duality. So that is the point here. No? If you are asked if you are conscious, we will say yes, of course. If you are asked that you exist, we will also say yes, of course. So our existence and our consciousness are self-evident. If you try to separate your existence, we're going to build more around this effort to establish the oneness between the subject and the object. If we try to separate the existence, my existence, your existence from your consciousness, how are you going to separate existence from consciousness? No? If we try to separate existence from consciousness, we will fail to do so, not because we do not know the technique for doing so, but because there is no way to do that. There is no technique. So you cannot separate your consciousness from your existence because they are one and the same. If I exist, and if I know that I exist, I must be conscious to know that I exist, and I cannot exist, and I cannot be conscious without having my existence back me up. One needs to exist to be conscious, and one needs to be conscious to know that one exists. So it's two sides of the same coin. We cannot separate existence from consciousness. So how can we separate? We have, for example, we have the fire, and the fire produces two effects. One is light and one is heat. So how can we separate the heat and the fire, the heat and the light? You understand? Wherever there is fire, there is, it would be better to try to separate the fire from its heat. You understand? We have fire and then we have heat. So how can we separate fire from heat? It's a different. I'm trying to venture on a metaphor like this, but actually fire is the source and the effect is heat and light. You understand? So that's why I was trying to say how to separate light from the heat. But I don't know. Maybe we can have light without heat as well. Some people say that the sun is not really hot; it becomes hot when it enters our atmosphere coming close. That's why they go to space and they don't see light. You understand? So we don't know much about those phenomena. But fundamentally, we cannot separate existence from consciousness. You understand? And it's not that consciousness is a byproduct of existence, or existence is a byproduct of consciousness. They are just two aspects. I mean, we say that they are three natures of reality. The three natures of reality is Brahman, which is conscious existence, limitlessness, okay? Or conscious existence of the nature of limitlessness or non-duality, okay? I hope I'm not making things complicated today. If you try to separate your existence, you're going to fail, because there is no way, there is no technique, because consciousness and existence are one. They cannot be physically separated. Can we separate them cognitively, intellectually? Can we separate it? I mean, we can do a lot of discriminations that are possible from the standpoint of our intellect, although, they cannot be done in actual, the internet stopping. It cannot be done at the practical level, but here, we cannot separate consciousness from existence. It's impossible. But they cannot be separated. But can we separate it intellectually or cognitively? Can we separate consciousness and existence? It's a good question. I'm just inquiring, Can it be really done? So I have my doubts. I will have to think about that a little deeper, but, we can't fundamentally, okay? Because they are the same thing. They say that consciousness and existence is one and the same. It's the nature of reality, the nature of Brahman, which is one without a second. So when we say that Brahman has some different aspects, so these aspects are Brahman's very nature, and nature is the essential, the most essential or substratum of something. So we cannot really separate consciousness, existence, and limitlessness, because they are the very nature of reality, okay? And they are one thing. It's not two. Here it says clearly that it's one. Yeah, there is no way to separate consciousness from existence, because consciousness and existence are one. They cannot be separated. So when you say that the tree exists, what does that mean? It means that the existence of the tree is actually consciousness. And since you are consciousness, your oneness with the tree is definitely established. So now we establish the oneness between the subject knower, and the objects known. So we establish that once we see a physical inert object, we can establish that I am that object, or that object is within me. The oneness between the subject and the object is established. Why? Because I exist and the object exists. Both exist in existence itself. So we are made of the same conscious existence, right? Sustained by the same conscious existence. Therefore, we can establish our oneness with the physical, material objects, and also with the other jivas, as the trees and the dogs, the cats. So we establish by observing that there is only one Brahman, one Satchitananda, one conscious existence, and everything that exists within Brahman, within Satchitananda. Therefore, all expressions of existence is only existence, colored by name, colors, and forms, which are just projections by my Ishvara. So I definitely established my identity with everything, you know. So when we establish our identity with everything, we are kind of in the mood, or in the, I forgot this English expression. We're in the mood of oneness, you know. We are one with everything. We feel like, you know, I am the world is me. There is only one. Now we hear those expressions in the spiritual world. But in order to be free, you need to be free from what? You have to be free from the world as well. Now, once you establish your identity with the world of object, you understand, and then you are no longer free from the world. So you have to understand in which way we are one with the world, and which way we are not one with the world. Therefore, one more step is required for liberation. If you are one with the object, with the tree, for example, you have a problem. You will not be conscious, and you will not be one with other trees and other things as well. I am one with, you know, I am one with Lynn. So it means to say that now I'm stuck with Lynn and I cannot be one with Claudio, for example. You understand? So you have a problem and you are no longer free, because, you know, a lot of people think in those terms. So I remember with Papaji, and he used to tell us, so there is only one. And when you go out on the streets, there used to be a lot of pigs on the streets of Lucknow. And he used to say, just go around seeing everything. And then, especially with pigs, when you see the pig, he used to say that laughing, you know, a little bit, joking, playing with her. He said, you see the pig and say, I am a pig, I am the pig, I am one with the pig, you know. So if we say I'm one with the pig, and then I'm in trouble, because how can I be one with this name, color, and form, and not be one with the cat name and form? So we'll have a problem. We will not be conscious, because with the tree is not a reflecting medium. So, but with other pigs, we're gonna have a pig consciousness, reflect consciousness. We're gonna have a cat reflect. We are not going to be intelligent beings. So, so there will still be duality, because I cannot be everything. I'm one with something I cannot be. I am limited by being one with something now. So you will not be conscious, and you will not be one with other things. So there will be still plurality and separation, okay, duality, and there will be no liberation. So how do you remain one with the object, one with the world, and still free of the world? You know, we need to understand certain things. No, I'm one with the world, but I'm free of the world. So the only understand we all know is that the world is all in me, but I'm not in the world, because the world belongs to Mitya. I belong to Satya. If I take myself to be a body, mind, matter, energy, and then I say, no, I'm one with Jagata, you know, it's one single organism. And then I'm integral part of Jagat, and I am there, and I'm not free from Jagat. But in order to be free from Jagat, I have to claim and stay in my nature as consciousness, and then say, I am one with it, because I pervade all of that, but yet I'm not enclosed in any of these, okay? So we are talking about two orders of reality in which, you know, everything is in me, but I'm not in any of these things, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. We need to understand Maya, we need to understand Mitya, we need to understand Satya, and so on. The real and the apparently real. All trees are wood, within the category of wood-ness. There are many different kinds of trees. So I believe all trees are they have wood, or they essentially are wood, different configurations of wood, but still wood, more solid, more liquid, more wet, more dry, but there is woodness there. So all trees are made are wood fundamentally. The essential nature of the trees are wood. Within the category of woodness, there are many different kinds of trees. Wood is the substrate, the support, the essence of all trees. It is the essence of the tree. Is the tree-ness free of woodness? No. Is the woodness free of the tree-ness? Yes. So it's the same thing. So is the gold ring free and independent from the gold? No. Is the gold free and independent from the gold ring? Yes, of course. So is the wood, which is the substantial, essential nature of the trees, is the wood free from the trees? Yes. Okay. But the trees depend on the woodness of woodness itself. So it's easier to see it from the example of the gold earth ornaments. It is the essence of the tree. Is the tree-ness free of the woodness? No. Is the woodness free of the tree-ness? Yes. Tree-ness depends on the woodness, but woodness does not depend on the tree-ness. So the gold ring depends on the gold, but the gold does not depend on the gold ring. Okay. So we are talking about the substrate, the essential free nature of something that is somehow becomes a name, call, and form, given by the jivas, and then it loses its essential nature as gold, essential nature as wood. We see a tree, we don't see wood, and then when we see a wood table, do we see the tree? We can, if we just reverse and we say, okay, this wood tree here was a tree before. So this wood was in the tree before. Now it was extracted as the essence of the tree. Now we have objects made out of wood. The same thing applies to the example of gold. We can melt gold and take a gold bar from some gold ornaments, and still it's in there, and then it can be shaped into different forms. So this wood table cannot turn to be a tree, but it came from the tree. It is the very essential nature of the tree, and we use it. We use it for our own comfort. Tree-ness depends on the wood, but woodness do not. So they are one. So how can we separate the wood and the tree? The same thing, They are one. So there's no way we can separate it. But are they the same? Not really. So they are one, but they are not the same. So one is the substantial nature of something, and the other is the thing. One thing is the substrate of something, and the other thing is the thing, which is a product of its substantial nature. You understand? Essence. So the wood and the tree are one because they cannot be separate, but they are not the same, as we have established. Similarly, all names and forms, all objects produced by Maheshwara exist, but they all depend on existence. So all the objects exist, but they enjoy an existence that comes from Brahman, from existence itself. So they are one with the existence, they are one with the Brahman, but yet they are different, okay? So there is a oneness, but there is a difference in the sense that, its fundamental nature is Brahman, but Brahman is not this configurations of objects. The objects are within Brahman, but Brahman is free, independent. And the objects are mithya, they are just superimposition, apparent reality. And Brahman, it's the substantial nature of all objects, conscious existence, is Satya, the only reality. So Satya is never really mithya, although mithya can be said to be Satya, okay? Because it's just a superimposition, it's apparent superimposition. Fundamentally, all there is Satchit, okay, of limitless nature. Objects are similarly, all names and forms exist, but they all depend on existence. But existence does not depend on any particular object. No? Oh no, existence depends on me. So I am a special object. No? A lot of jivas, human jivas say, no, I mean, I matter. I have a purpose here, and I came here to add value, and I will never be forgotten. And existence may depend on me, or at least I am my very source of conscious existence, and so on. I create my reality. So existence does not depend on any particular jiva. Jiva depends on consciousness, existence. Objects are material, jivas are material, but they also exist. If they exist due to conscious existence. But conscious existence, you are not in the objects, okay? All objects are in us, including our very jiva exists within us, okay? But we are not a byproduct of these objects. We are not contained in these objects. If they exist, they are consciousness, but consciousness, which is you, are not in them. We are again and again establishing that consciousness is not a part, product, or property or quality of any object. It's an independent principle, an independent entity, which is free and independent from all objects, not from matter. If you believe that you are something other than consciousness, please supply the logic to support your belief, as we have done here, to support the fact that you are consciousness. That's a good challenge for the most stubborn, that they really hold on their position. They believe that they are matter, that they are the body-mind complex, and they do not accept that I am free, limitless consciousness. But this is the case of most everyone. Even people working its way to self-knowledge and moksha, they are still holding back into this notion that I'm not really free, limitless consciousness, right? I am matter. And then people say, no, I'm a little bit of both. I'm a mixture. I'm a mixture. I am my body. I really enjoy my body. I like it, and I find it beautiful, the most beautiful configuration. So we have a hard time to accept that we are consciousness. We take ourselves to be something close to consciousness, but not quite limitless consciousness. And then Swamiji is saying, please supply the logic, or maybe James is saying, support your belief. You will not be able to support your belief, because who you think you are is only a name assigned randomly to someone else, by someone else, our parents, to a body, which is a configuration of the elements that came out of consciousness by way of division and recombination of the subtle elements. So who are we? Who we are? Who I am? So if I'm not consciousness, so I have to really look into, because we are all matter. If we really take ourselves to be consciousness or energy / matter, or grossified or subtle energy. So everything comes from the five subtle elements. So we are all the same. We are all clay, like Ramana Maharshi, when they want to apply this Ayurvedic something mixture with mud and herbs to his cancer, he say, "Oh my God, these people are crazy." They mud over mud. You understand why? He says like, this body here is just the five elements, and now they put other five elements in here. Another piece of mud on mud. So it does not make any sense. It did not make sense to him. So you have to define, you have to decide or define oneself and understand. And if we don't understand that we are free, limitless consciousness, and then we have to look into the logic that we are holding on. Sometimes it's illogical, but we are holding on to this idea, this mistaken idea that I am the body. So that is the challenge here presented by the text. So you are just the five elements. So when you experience an object, as a body, you are only the five elements. When you experience an object, if you want liberation, all that is required is that to separate its existence from its name and form. So we experience an object, and I want to be free from the object. So I don't want to be entangled with the object, attached and bound to the object. So I want to be free from the object. And what I need to do, I need to discriminate what? My existence and the existence of the object. I have to separate my existence and the existence of the object, and then I need to extract, the name and form and the property of the object. So when I see an object, a telephone, and then I see, okay, I don't see existence, I don't see consciousness, I see a telephone. So, and then I have to remove what? I have to discriminate and remove the name, color, form, and property of this thing. Once I take that superimposition, and then I see what? I see existence, how do you say? Showing up as a telephone. I did not know how to turn it into a verb, So the existence appearing as a telephone. So, but I have to subtract the trick, the superimposition, the projection of Maya, which is name, colors, and forms and properties. And then I clear my mind. I say, oh, it's just conscious existence appearing as a telephone. So we need, but we cannot physically separate yourself. You cannot physically separate yourself from an object, gross or subtle, because reality is non-dual. This is very nice. You cannot physically separate yourself from an object. So a gross or subtle object, because reality is non-dual. So if reality is non-dual, what is the purpose and how can I separate myself from an object? And we need to find out what I mean by myself. It means the conscious subject, the jiva. The jiva experienced another object. Now I want to separate myself from the object. I cannot really separate myself from object because reality is non-dual, means to say it's just all of, a magic show, a superimposition of two names and forms, myself and another object. So you cannot physically separate yourself from any object, gross or subtle, because reality is non-dual. Whenever there is non-duality, there is no possibility of separation, you understand? So once we understand the non-dual nature of conscious existence, it's impossible to separate ourselves from the object. If we take ourselves to be the subject, jiva, the individual who knows and experiences, and then I know that I'm experiencing an object, but this object is sharing the same existence as me. I understand my oneness with the objects as conscious existence, okay? But I know that as a configuration of Maya, I am here and the other object is there. But the moment that I set my mind right, I see that the existence in the same consciousness is the same, because the nature of reality is non-duality. All there is this conscious existence. It's existence, existing as me, and existing as the other object. Why are you going to say something, Lynn?
No, I was thinking it's because of its all pervasiveness, there's no physical separation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't really separate it either, because in order to experience, you need awareness, or consciousness. So you have to do it just through understanding, I guess.
Yeah, we want to be free from the objects, because we know the objects have the power to seduce and bind us to them. You understand? So we want to be free. And what we're going to do, it's required that I determine first that the existence of the object is one and the same, which is my own existence. And if I'm going to be bound to something, it's only to something that is a mirage, which is the name and the form that is superimposed on existence, conscious existence itself. You understand? So, and how can I separate my existence from the existence of the object? How can I separate my consciousness from the consciousness of the other cats and dogs? No, it's one all-pervasive conscious existence and cannot be separated. Okay. But the superimposition of names and forms, they are different. They belong to media. Yeah? So there was two different aspects to this inquiry. Physically, for example, you cannot separate yourself from an object. Yeah? We cannot, because physically we have different names and forms. No? But it's not really necessary to try to separate. All we need to do is to understand, that fundamentally there is no need to separate, because it's all consciousness. Okay, so we don't need to separate us, the subject, seer, from the seen, because it's obvious that immediate duality, diversity, and separations and divisions a law. Yeah. Is the law. So everything here is a play of diversities. But we understanding the nature, the non-dual nature of reality, and then we can be one with the world, at the same time not bound to the world. Okay, as we see everything as a superimposition in myself as consciousness, and everything is a superimposition consciousness, including the jiva. The jiva, the knower of the world. So everything is just one existence, one consciousness. You cannot separate. There are no two existences. There are no two consciousnesses, but you cannot separate them in your mind. But you can separate them. Now we talk about there are no two existences or two consciousness. So, meaning to say there is only one existence, there is one consciousness, but you can separate them in your mind, because you understand that Maya makes the one reality seem as if it is duality. Okay, so you cannot separate the existence of a cat and the dog, the consciousness of Claudio and Mark. You cannot separate them, but you can separate them in your mind, because you understand that Maya makes the one reality seem as if it is duality. So is there really need to separate, the existence of all objects? No, I mean, it goes in automatic. We see the diversity, the plurality of objects, and we know that everything exists. We talk the same language. And but I can separate in my mind and know that these objects are different than these objects, but inside I know that it's just a trick produced by Maya. Yeah? We know that the reality is non-duality, but Maya makes it seem to be plurality, diversity of name, colors, and form. When you are able to separate yourself in this way from every object, so we are separating ourselves, consciousness, from the objects that appear in us, okay? We are not separate the jiva, we separate consciousness. The objects are all the time showing up, but I am separate, meaning to say I'm not getting attached to the jiva, which is an object, our very jiva, and the objects experienced by this jiva, because I'm discriminating myself in my essence as consciousness from everything that appears to me. When you are able to do this discrimination in this way, from every object of experience, remember, experience are objects as well as it appears, and then one is free. So this is the most important tool of Vedanta, which is discrimination that is here has been presented by the world, separating, separate. And we know that the separation cannot really be done on a physical level, but we can understand. We cannot separate on a physical level because on the physical level there is diversity of configurations, but I need to separate in my understanding that I am consciousness, the only reality, and all these objects, they are just appearing in me as name, colors, and forms. And then one is moving, transacting the world, but not getting bound to the world, okay? Anything about this? Claude, you remain very quiet today.
No, it's very interesting.
Huh?
It's very interesting. It's really also, it's how I say, it's my experience also. It's also what I thought about Vedanta in the last time I try to do this kind of nididhyasana. We can say that this is really nididhyasana, to separate the existence from the object that you live and see, or the existence itself, and not do this reversal thing. Now it's interesting to also to clarify this reversal or reverser of Maya, that reverse the. Yeah. It seems that the consciousness or the object exists. No, it's the existence that is objectifying. So this is also what so it give me a lot of confirmation of my work done in the last time.
Yeah, it's much more simpler than all this game of words. So we know that everything that we see appears to exist independently, as if it has its own existence. And in the case of the sentient objects, the other jivas, the living creatures, when we see living creatures, we have the impression that the consciousness that they enjoy, it's being a byproduct, or it's being generated uniquely, and it's a unique consciousness. So it's very simple. Is the consciousness that you enjoy the same or different from the consciousness that I enjoy? It seems that, no, this is Claudio's consciousness and this is Arlindo's consciousness. Oh, this is the existence of a tree and the existence of a cat. No, this is the consciousness of Mark and the consciousness of Lynn. So we are tricked by Maya to believe that conscious existence belongs to Maya's own configuration, but no, everything is within consciousness, okay? Everything is happening within consciousness, and it's enjoying a conscious existence from consciousness, from Brahman itself, you understand? So there are varieties of configuration, varieties of names and forms, but they all enjoy the same existence. There is a variety of jivas, and they all enjoy the consciousness, but they become different minds. So this reflected consciousness, they become different body-mind complex, or different, reflected consciousness. But there is only one existence and one consciousness, and the purpose of this teaching is to help us to understand better the non-dual nature of the manifest universe, okay? Because we understand now, we can sense that there is consciousness shining in all human beings, although we have this confusion between consciousness and mind, and then we get the impression that consciousness is all the time changing and can be improved and so on. And but we sense that there is a common denominator, that every conscious being, enjoys consciousness somehow, But we have a hard time to sense the oneness between us sentient creatures and the inert objects, because we know that we are better or special because we enjoy, reflected consciousness, and the inert objects such as this telephone, although they say that they become more intelligent than us, but any physical object is we don't see consciousness. We say, no, I am okay, I am one with the conscious beings, but I'm not one with a stone, and then we need to understand that existence and consciousness are one, the same thing. And wherever there is existing, everything that exists, exists from consciousness, from Satchitananda, is the nature of Brahman that brings forth the five subtle elements, and then they divide and grossify, and then they become all these different configurations. In everything, there is consciousness in everything, okay? In every physical configuration, there is consciousness there, because nothing can be created without this conscious intelligence, So all of this is just Brahman, and now we can go around it and see. It's much easier to understand these teachings by taking a first step and understanding that all expressions in this manifestation, they are Ishvara. If we see that everything is the body of Ishvara, the manifestation, which is the creator appearing as the universe, and then you see, yes, we are all one in Ishvara, and then you can understand as a jiva, as a configuration, integral part of Ishvara, but as consciousness, my true nature, conscious existence, Ishvara and the universe are just in me, you understand? They are just coming out of me, and they are just in me. It's a reflection that occurs in me as consciousness, you understand? So, and then we see the absolute oneness. The absolute oneness is to realize the substrate of Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat. And then you say, okay, now not only I'm one with the world, I say, okay, it feels so cozy. I'm no longer alone in this universe. You understand? Now I'm one with the universe. Now I feel really warm and protect, But another thing is to say, no, I'm one with the universe, but I'm free and independent of the universe. You understand? Because the universe is just an image or superimposition that happens within me. So this is the ultimate freedom. Okay. So next week, we're going to see the evolution of the elements. This is a nice teaching. Anything from you, Mark?
Yeah, I am the independent principle. I am pure Brahman. Everything else is just Maya appearing as name and form and objects. So yeah, that's what I understood.
Yeah. So Satchitananda, existence consciousness of the nature of limitlessness. So we need to to understand it and claim our very nature, identity as such, you know. So this is the only insurance we have against the adversities or fluctuations that we experience as a configuration we see in the universe, you know, as a jiva. As a jiva, actually, we are always having this problem. So the jiva has to understand that the jiva is not really a jiva. Yeah? That's basically the bottom line. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purna Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Namaste. We meet again soon. Ishvara willing, next Thursday.
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.